Hello and welcome to Sporting Jibberish. I'm Stu Booth.
And I'm Jack Luffman. Stu, what a view. Very different. Very different.
I didn't know which way to go, left or right then. The old boxing movement's coming out there. Yeah, as you can see, I am not in the sandbox. I'm currently in County Wicklow in Ireland. As you can see, I think that's Wicklow Mountain over this shoulder.
Yeah, very nice. Is that the one you were? I heard a little grapevine that you took the family up one of those mountains, Sugarloaf Mountain, was it, or whatever they call it?
It was Curlston Woods, I think, and we went to Sir William's Chair. It didn't start very well. 10 seconds in, Jill puts her foot in a puddle, and we almost lost two things on that day. Isabella's head nearly fell off halfway up the hill, and Harry's leg nearly got lost in a swamp. Oh, Harry calls it a swamp. I call it a bog.
Oh, or maybe a puddle.
Yeah, well, he jumped over this area and put his foot into the bog area, and he went all the way up to his knee. I was thinking he's going to pull this out, shoes gone and everything. But thankfully, everything was still in play, and we survived. We made it up. So
brilliant. And I'm sure there was no moaning along the way.
Oh no, not much. I had my earpods in, so I couldn't hear a thing. But yeah, how's the sandbox?
Hot, mate. Hot, as you can see. Got a bit of the forehead got a bit burnt the other day. So, but yeah, so we're just chilling out at the minute, and then obviously shows off. It's been Eid, so we've held off on travel until get that out of the way, and then hopefully get somewhere next week. So who knows where I'll be next week? Who knows?
Well, interestingly enough, I might be your neck. Well, I am going to be your neck of woods this time next week.
Yeah, you were saying, yeah. So.
So for our listeners out there, Harry has, we're not going to call it a trial, we're going to call it an assessment. So he's been invited into Lincoln City Football Club for an assessment over a couple of days. So next Wednesday and Thursday, I should be in England from Tuesday, but Wednesday and Thursday I'll be in Lincoln at the trial. And I believe John's looking after me for a couple of days.
Yeah. Trek's going to say you can stay in his swamp for a couple of days. So that'll be all right. She'll have to say hello to the folks for me.
Yes, and hopefully we might even get a guest appearance from the old Trek Meister.
Oh my goodness, we'll never stop him talking. But back onto this week, you've been there, and you talk about Harry. You've been doing some pre-season work, both of you there, have you? A bit like Rocky up the mountains, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. Every day we've been out doing a little bit of ball work and a bit of fitness work. I had him out this morning doing some close controls and passing over different areas, and then we finished off with some hill sprints, which. He didn't thank me for now, but he will thank me for it at some point. But yeah, while the weather's like this, it's absolutely glorious. I think we're on about 25, 26 degrees. It's fantastic. It's a bit like winter in Dubai. It's really, you just need to sit out. So fully endorsing every minute of it. And obviously when you've got views and countryside,
look at that. So it's actually green, proper green grass. Yeah,
you cannot complain at all. Now I've lost my mountain. See, I shouldn't have picked that up then. It's back again. But yeah, on this week's show, we're going to be talking a little bit about football from Ireland. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Grand Prix. Interesting weekend on that aspect. Cricket, 100, and the Test match squad that's coming up. And then the Olympics, which hasn't officially started, but has started.
But it has, yeah.
Yeah, which is mind-boggling because they have to start We'll start with the Olympics. They have to start with football because there's so many fixtures. And softball is also one that has to take place a little bit before the actual start of the competition.
Yeah, exactly. So GB, the women GB team. So the men haven't entered a GB team, which I think is ridiculous. They entered one in 2012, obviously, because the Home Olympics. And I was actually reading something the other day that's basically they've not entered it because they can't agree on, which FA sorts it out or whatever. It's pathetic. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But the women start with a good 2-0 win against Chile, I think it was. And Ellen White, the English striker, got both goals. So that's a good start for them. And you mentioned softball. Softball is one of the new sports. There are 6 new sports in this Olympics. Women's softball and men's baseball. Although they've been in it before at previous Olympics, but have been reintroduced. Do you know the other 5, Stu?
Is this where I'm supposed to guess? The darts? Or is that?
No, we're not going that debate again. So there's 5 other sports new to the Olympic Games this Tokyo 2020. Any idea?
I apart from softball that I knew about, golf should already be in there anyway.
Yeah.
I think that was the last Olympics that was introduced. I would just be simply plucking out sports like snooker, darts, fishing.
You've been in Ireland fishing, haven't you?
Let's go bog running. I have no idea, Jack. Tell me what the 5 new sports.
So the softball and baseball we've covered. Sport climbing. All right. So it's regulation. International Federation of Sport Climbing's been on the go for a long time. So that's introduced. There are different aspects to it or different events. Speed climbing. 2 climbers race up a fixed route on a 15-meter wall.
That reminds me of gladiators.
Yeah. Then bouldering.
Tenders, are you ready?
Yeah. Gladiators are ready. Yeah. So speed climbing, bouldering, which is obviously a different kind of event, and then lead climbing. And they've got a time limit. So there's sort of 3 different events within the sport. Surfing is back or not back. Is on the agenda, which surprises me that it's never been on before. How popular it is in around the world, and obviously a lot of water sports happen in the Olympics. So surfing. Now I did know this one. Skateboarding is back purely because Britain's youngest ever Olympian has qualified, hasn't she? I can't think of the girl's name at the moment, but she's just turned 13. So I actually think she qualified as a 12-year-old, but she's a skateboarder. And I think fairly good. I'm not sure whether she'll medal or anything like that. And again, in skateboarding, it seems like there's different events or different tricks that they're going to do. So, yeah, skateboarding is one. Karate, believe it or not, which surprised me. Karate, because Daniel-san, because obviously like judo and that is very popular than boxing. So, and taekwondo and things like that. So karate is there. And then baseball and softball were the other ones. So that's all kicks off tomorrow, doesn't it? Friday, the opening ceremony.
Yeah, I think it. Yeah, the best thing about Love the Olympics is the fact that, well, obviously when you're back home watching this, is you click on BBC, press the red button, and you can find the most obscure events to watch. And you could sit there all day just watching one random event after another, and it's just class. Yeah,
it is brilliant, and that's something that I've not quite figured out. The timings yet actually in Dubai as to what, because I think they said, I did read somewhere that I think is Tokyo 8 hours ahead of the UK, so they're about 5 hours ahead of us. So maybe some late nights coming up in Dubai, particularly when obviously the athletics starts, because that's the most exciting, isn't it? But yeah, you're right. I always remember as kids when the Olympics was on, just doing just that, just being able to sit and watch any sport all day long. And obviously with Dad being a PE teacher, and he was athletics. He's actually very a big fan of the athletics. Would watch all the Diamond League stuff. So yeah, the Olympics starts on Friday. It'd be strange with no fans though.
Very strange.
I know we've been used to sports fans. Have been used to watching sport without fans over the last 18 months or so. But I think for the Olympians and the athletes, it's probably, in all honesty, the only time that some of them get to compete in front of huge fans, whatever the sports are. And so not to have that for them is a bit disappointing. And I think might affect some of the results, maybe.
Possibly. You think maybe some of the better players who are used to competing in pressured situations may be challenged more by lesser players. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, exciting summer of sport ahead of us, especially on the back of the Euros.
Yeah, definitely. So keep it going.
Yeah, moving on from that, we're going to look at football. So I've got a few transfers that have actually been completed. Some that you may be aware of, some a little bit obscure, some a little bit strange. But let me know what you think about these transfers. So Christophe Agier, the big centre-half that had a great tournament, has actually signed for Brentford.
Has he really?
Yeah, he's moved from Celtic to Brentford, undisclosed fee. So big, strong centre-half, and he had a very, very good tournament for Denmark. So I'm surprised that nobody else came in for him and ended up at Brentford. So maybe they're acquiring a bit of a squad together there, because they've got the ex-Leeds lad there, haven't they, as well, the centre-back.
Oh, yeah, Pontius Janssen or whatever.
Yeah, he's a nutter, absolute nutcase. But he's there. And Tony up front as well.
Yeah, that's about to say. So actually they've got, I don't know what the goalkeeper's like, but we said before, if you've got somebody who scores goals, and I think Tony will score goals in the Premier League because he scored goals at every level, a bit like Vardy and people like that coming up. So he's obviously got an eye for goal. two decent enough centre halves. You know, they've got some decent bases covered there. It'd be nice to see them stay up, actually, wouldn't it?
It'd be interesting. It'd be an interesting season. It depends on how they play. If they played attractive football in the Championship, so let's see if they go about the same way. If they change the style, which will be a bit of a shame because part of me wants teams to come and play how they should do. But then I suppose the key aspect for all teams is surviving that first season. And then it's establishing yourself. But this is one of the strangest ones that I found. Andros Townsend to Everton.
Yeah, on a free. Palace never renewed his contract, did they?
Yeah, but I just don't understand. Where does he fit into Everton's plans? Have they not got a gulf of players already playing in them positions?
Well, I was reading about this because the other fella, and I think I read this morning actually that he's flown into Florida. I'm assuming Everton must be there on tour or something. It's Damari Gray. So, and I was reading that they reckon that Benitez wants to play with his system with real wide, wingers or wide forwards or something like that. And he said they haven't got any of them. And I was thinking about this, thinking, well, actually, when I saw them play, like Richarlison, but I don't know whether he's a striker or a wide forward, I don't know. But there were times when I saw him playing, they had Tom Davies playing out wide.
Well, they have Theo Walcott there as well.
Yeah, but they got rid of him. He's gone to Southampton. But yeah, don't know. I mean, I think Townsend is a decent enough player, but you wouldn't say there's a massive lot of future in him at Everton.
Yeah. Is he improving Everton to make that step into the next gulf? No, not far from it. Another one, while we've got Everton on the books, you can talk about that in a second, is they've signed Begovic as well.
Yeah, I did see that. Bizarre. I mean, again, he didn't even get in Bournemouth side in the year that they got relegated in the end because of mistakes and stuff. So it's strange, isn't it? Benitez has gone there and he's basically gone with Townsend, who he's worked with before at Newcastle. And like you say, is he really making Everton step up? No. Is he improving the squad? Probably, but certainly not taking that gulf from what were they, 8th, 9th into the top 6 and then beyond to the top 4. And Begovic again, bizarre signing. Obviously just a squad signing on a free, but yeah, interesting to see what Everton fans think of Benitez at the minute. I'd like to know that.
Another one that's left Palace, Wayne Hennessy. He's now gone on a free and he's gone to join Burnley, of all places. So they've got Nick Pope, obviously his first choice. Then they've got, I can't think of the young lad that plays backup. It's a double-barreled name, isn't it?
Yeah, he was at Leeds, wasn't he, in the Championship? So Hinkley Fairweather or Burt? I don't know.
Something like that, yeah. But yeah, that's another strange one. One that we've both talked about before in the past, Ryan Bertrand. I think this is a decent signing. Yeah, Southampton to Leicester on a free as well. So Leicester done some good recruiting there.
Yeah, I can't understand why Southampton have let him go. I mean, obviously we don't know the ins and outs what goes on at the club, but seems a bizarre thing to let him go with no money. I mean, I know he must be pushing 30, so he's not worth loads and loads of money, but strange to let him go for nothing when it's not like Southampton don't need him. Bizarre, but I think a good signing for Leicester because he's got some good fullbacks, but they're very young, aren't they?
Yeah,
like Justin Thomas and the other lad who did quite well for Leicester, but it's a good signing, I think, from Rodgers. That.
Yeah, the other lad came into a centre half, didn't he? I can't think what his name is now. Yeah. French lad. I think you're about to say, is it Fonalou or something like that? Yeah. But while Everton seem to be popping up again, but Everton have let Josh King go on a free. Bit of a strange one because he came with this potential, never got given any game time at all, and now he's gone to Watford.
He's been quite vocal about that as well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
About Ancelotti giving him promises and not being given a go. Like I say, strange because I know Calvert-Lewin's there as a forward, but when they were struggling for goals there, and he is a goal scorer. To be fair, at Bournemouth when they had him and Callum Wilson, they were a bit of a threat going forward. So yeah, I would say a fairly decent signing for Watford. That.
Yeah, one that this is a shout out for fancy football managers out here is Crystal Palace have just signed another player. They got Eze last year, and I mentioned him in pre-season how good he could be, and he definitely established himself towards the end. But they've just signed another lad called Michael Olise. He's 19 years old. Again, he's come from Reading. Very similar background as Eze. So he was also named the EFL Young Player of the Season. So one to watch out for, and somebody could potentially get it on the cheap for fantasy football. It'll just be a case of, will Patrick stick him in from the get-go with him only being 19, or will he just slowly drip feed him in? A bit like what they've done with Eze last season, and then eventually established himself and became one of the most exciting talents in the Premiership towards the end of the season.
It's a shame that he's injured, isn't it? I mean, he did that injury towards the back end, and it's interesting the Patrick Vieira one. You take your point there about will he stick him in? I don't know whether he might have to stick these people in, because I think we mentioned on the podcast maybe last week or the week before, at one point there were 11 first-team players out of contract. Now, we've talked Hennessy's already gone, Townsend already gone, and there's one or two others that, and with one or two injuries flying around, I'm not sure how that Crystal Palace side looks come the first game of the season. I'm really not. You never know.
No,
Vieira might be putting his boots on.
Yeah, well, it looks like the signings Vieira's gone for a youthful player, so that he's gone for the 19, 20-year-olds. So he looks like he's instilling a bit of youth in there. So Vieira looks like he's planning for a long-term stay there. It's not a case of quick fix now to get him sorted. It looks like he's going, this is what the team would look like in 2 or 3 years' time. But talking about youthful players, Leeds have just signed from Barcelona Junior Firpo. Actually, Leeds they've played with a makeshift left back last year with Aloiski, and this guy is out and out left back. So that's a strong signing, and I think a little bit of intent from Leeds with regards to what type of players they're looking to bring into the club.
Definitely, and they've managed to secure Harrison, haven't they, from City?
Harrison's there as well.
On loan. Yeah, I mean, fair play though. We joked a bit about it last year, and I didn't really get on board with the whole Leeds United train, but give them the due. You know, they stuck to the guns and they did well. I just think that you talk about Everton going to the next level. Leeds want to break into that. Surely they're top 6 or to get Europe next year, even in that conference rubbish thing that Spurs are in. That I think they need another centre half, and I think they need. Although Bamford did well, I'll be very surprised if he does the same again. I'd be very surprised. But you know, those players are goal scorers. That's where the big money is, isn't it? So he's going to probably rely on scoring from other areas of the pitch as well. Right,
I'm gonna leave with the last 3 here, and then we'll have a quick chat. This one I think could be potentially the sign of the season, and he's going to Norwich, and it's Billy Gilmore. Has gone on loan for the season from Chelsea to Norwich, and I think that is a great signing for Norwich City, and a bit of a strange one on Chelsea's behalf.
Yeah, it's because obviously he had that cracking game, didn't he, against England in the Euros. He did show a lot more than that. Not just that game he showed, I think, in the games that I saw him play for Chelsea, that he can play. Interesting one, because obviously Spurs' Ollie Skip was there at Norwich all last season and won Player of the Year. I think he was in the AFL Championship team this season. And I know that Norwich wanted to keep him this year, but obviously Spurs have said, no, we're having him, which I'm really pleased with. I just hope that he gets game time in the Premiership. So it's almost like a like-for-like replacement, isn't it, in Gilmore? They've had Skip. We'll get Gilmore, similar kind of player, similar kind of age, or he's actually younger. And I think that I can't think of his name. Daniel Facker, whatever his name is, the Norwich City manager. Obviously, he's pretty good with the youngsters and plays football the right way. So I think that big managers are quite happy for their youngsters to play under him. So I think that's a really good signing. And obviously, Chelsea may well reap the benefit of it if he ends up playing 25, 30 Premier League games all year.
Yeah. The other 2 I was going to mention, this guy, which mentioned beforehand, and I actually watched him play the other night, Ibrahima Konate for Liverpool. This guy is a monster. He's 22-year-old. He must be like 6'6". He's absolutely huge. Built like a brick house, as we say. And he's strong. And I just wonder now, will Liverpool change their system slightly and go 3 at the back? Now they have Konate, Gomez, we've got Matip and Virgil all coming back. They reckon that Matip is the closest one to being match sharp out of the lot of them. Konate being the next one there, and then Virgil and Gomez a little bit behind slightly of where they're expected to be. But come the opening game of the season, it'd be interesting to see if Liverpool change that formation slightly and maybe go to a 3 at the back.
Get the fullbacks even higher, because there's definitely that I know probably certainly Trent probably wasn't as good as last season as he was the season before, but I think there was a certain amount of opposition with pushing the fullbacks further back than what Liverpool wanted. So like going that way gets those two further up the pitch again for you, and depends what they do with the front three. But yeah, interesting, good signing.
Yeah, and the last one I was going to mention, this guy has done a big loop, left the club 10 years ago, went to Manchester United, ended up in Italy, and now he's back home. Do you know who I'm talking about, Jack?
And he's gone back to Man United?
No. He left Aston Villa, went to Manchester United, went to Italy, and now he's back at Villa. He's come back. Yeah, he's back. 35 years old. A bit of a strange signing for me. I hope it's not one of them that's it's a childhood sweetheart dream type of signing where they think he's going to come back and unfortunately it doesn't work out for him. But yeah, Ashley Young is back in the Premiership.
It's strange because I think he played a lot, didn't he? From what I remember, for Inter last year in the Championship side. So obviously he's still got a bit, and he probably still fit. But like you say, you'd hope that he's getting picked or signed and then picked on merit rather than what he's done in the past. But I think that Ashley Young over time has just been a decent player. I don't think he's ever put up loads of trees, but I think his career, he's obviously had a decent career because he's Serie A champion. He won trophies with Man United. He would have done. He got to a World Cup semi-final with England. So he's definitely got a CV. Before we move on, though, I want to ask you one question in terms of football. I think you know what's coming.
Yeah, but it's to do with Liverpool, and I'm going to say Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, what's going on there? I personally think this whole thing in the media about him not signing a contract and then contract talk stalling, he might go to Arsenal. I think it's all media talk. I think he'll stay, surely, won't he?
Yeah, I think the issue is he's still got another year on his contract, so it's not like it needs to be done and dusted right now. But I think Henderson wants it sorted before season starts. But and I know Liverpool fans might call out and call me for this, but I'm a Liverpool fan myself. But you need to think of it as a business term. Like we didn't do it with Wijnaldum, and I would say Wijnaldum's probably technically a little bit better than Henderson. All right, Henderson brings a little bit more to Liverpool's squad than Wijnaldum did. But when you get to a certain age, reaction times, speed, power, strength all start to dwindle slightly. Therefore, your performance can't be maintained at the same level. So I have no issue as a business side for Liverpool to put players on a one-year contract after 30, 31 years old and then maintain it. Right. James Milner lives on a one-year by-year contract, and every year he comes back just as fit, just as strong, and deserves that contract. Henderson's picked up some injuries over the last couple of seasons, which I think Ferguson pulled him out at the start, didn't he? He said that he would never sign him because he has a bizarre running technique. That means the biomechanics of Henderson's body's not right. Therefore, we'll pick up injuries later on in his career. Maybe Ferguson's call then is actually coming true now. But for me, thinking about this as a business, and that's what Liverpool fans need to think about this, is a business aspect of, as a club, you don't want to sign a player on a 4-year contract that, all right, yes, he's won the first Premiership Championship at Liverpool, just because he's done that, because it just makes no sense. You need to be playing players and giving them based on merit, and he needs a year to prove that he deserves another contract.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair comment. And actually, like you say, from the outside looking in, I think Jordan Henderson is somebody that I've kind of warmed to as a character. I think over time, he's clearly a good leader for Liverpool, and is part of that senior setup within the England squad. And has achieved some wonderful things. But I don't think he's somebody, like I say, at that age, he has picked up a lot of injuries over the last 2 seasons. He's not a world beater. He's a leader. He's a motivator. He gets around the park. He does bits. He's not like, you're not going to, it's not like a Cristiano Ronaldo or some super. He's not an absolute superstar of footballing ability. So I think you're dead right. And it was it Wenger who had that, when he was at Arsenal, had that kind of unwritten law that he would never offer anything longer than, was it 30 or 30?
Yeah, it was. I think back in the day, both Arsenal and Man United, the same policy. Once they hit 30, they weren't allowed to offer more than a 2-year contract. And I think if they got to a certain age after that, it was only 1 year, which I completely agree with.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have an issue with that. And I think, like you're saying, is that hype now about Arsenal coming for him. What a load of rubbish. Henderson loves it, Liverpool. His family lives at Liverpool. He's obviously wanting a better contract. But, sometimes you just have to accept it, just a bit like Messi's doing now.
Yeah. 50% pay cut, off you go. We'll see what happens. See what occurs.
Right, Luffers, let's get on with it. You itchy to talk about it, the cricket.
Yeah, so I did pick up. So last night, I'll start with 100. Obviously, this new ECB game version of the game that, the game's
Come on,
not.
Preston.
Yeah, that Manchester Originals probably will be your closest team.
All right, okay.
The jury's still out. However, I watched the first game last night. It was it was Oval Invincibles versus Manchester Originals at the Oval. Over 7,000 spectators in to watch a domestic women's game. So it was a massive crowd in England. Brilliant. Cannot fault that. I watched it. It was a good game. Sort of picked up. I didn't watch it all. Picked it up the last, I don't know, half an hour or so. It was a good game. Exciting finish. Penultimate ball win. Some of the leading players in the women's game from all around the world are playing in it. So that's really, really good. I've said from day one about the 100 in terms of its marketing, its visuals looks tacky. And the screen yesterday, like where the balls are, like usually the score would have 1-3 for 1 or 50. It was all over. It was like a computer game. It was all horrific in terms of how it looked. But look, we'll see what happens. The men start tonight their game at the Oval, so we'll see what happens.
That means there's a good chance I'm going to like it if it's completely void of anything cricket.
Well, it looks a bit like a computer game, so you'll be all right. You'll be all right, like you're gaming. But yeah, look, you can't argue with the fact that, and obviously, I watched it through Sky, but I think it was on the BBC as well last night. They're obviously driving it, so when after the game, the fans were the team went around the pitch and clapped the fans, and there was lots of visuals of young kids and girls and boys jumping around the thing, and the commentators were, this is what it's all about. So there's obviously a big narrative and agenda to push it. I just don't think, will it be worth the disruption it's caused to the rest of the English, particularly the men's domestic game, where at the same time we've got the 50 over Royal London Cup with basically second 11s playing. I'm not so sure about that. But in terms of that particular game and the concept, yes, the graphics look rubbish, but it looked quite exciting. So we'll see what tonight brings for the men's version. Awesome.
Is there a test match coming up at any point as well, Jack?
Yeah. So the England host India in test match series. I think starts August the 4th. I think. So 10 days or so time. So England named their squad. Unsurprisingly, not particularly creative. I would have liked to have seen a few changes in the batting, but they've gone for pretty much the same squad that had played against New Zealand, albeit Stokes, Butler are back in and best, so the IPL people. So nothing major. Archer's still out injured. Chris Wokes is out injured as well, which is a bit unfortunate for him. So we'll see what happens. I'd like to think, and interesting enough, that India are playing like a county select 11 in a 3-4 day game in Durham at the moment. And Hassan Hamid, who's not opening batsman, got 100. Now, he played for England in India 4 years ago as a teenager and did well on debut, and then broke his thumb, I think it was, on that tour. And then after that following season hasn't scored a run. Was at Lancashire. He's a Lancashire boy. Didn't get a run, literally couldn't get a run at any level. Started that following season, the first 11, didn't get a run. Went and played Lancashire Twos, didn't get a run. Wasn't even getting a run in club cricket.
Wow.
Bizarrely. And anyways, so he sort of I think he got back into the setup, scored a few, and he's moved to Notts, had a great start to this season. So, as I say, he's just got 100 against India, which will pretty much be India's test match side, I would imagine. So, pretty good timing for him, I would have thought. So, that's probably put a little bit of pressure on Crawley, Sibley, and Burns. So, we'll see. But big series, and obviously a good test for England leading up to, because once they've played these 4 test matches, the next lot of test matches will, of course, be the Ashes in the winter.
Wow, right. Well, before we disappear, quickly mention about Lewis Hamilton and the Grand Prix. The corner that could have been, I think, is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, unbelievable. I don't know if you saw it with being out there, but I had picked up on it when I was out and about on Sunday in Dubai and then watched it. I mean, I'm no F1 motor racing expert. I don't know the absolute ins and outs of the rules, but that first corner when they definitely touch. And if you read or listen to the experts, it seems to me like it's a bit of a 50-50 split. So no, it was Hamilton's fault. No, it was Verstappen's fault. Whatever. I think the unfortunate thing is, and thankfully is okay, that the touch of the wheel I think could have actually happened. Either of them could have gone off the track, but it absolutely sent Verstappen across the gravel, off the track, and obviously destroyed his car, and he wasn't able to start. Thankfully, he was okay. But of course, Hamilton then was able to get his car fixed and restart. And then as the race,
according to the racing stewards on the day, they said it was Hamilton's fault. They give him a 10-second penalty. Didn't they?
Exactly. So they started racing, and they then are still looking at the what the penalty is or whose fault it was as they started racing. And I was following this on the text on the sports app, and obviously the team owners are sending emails or talking to the race manager, whoever it is. Just look at your email. We've got visuals, and so I can imagine the pandemonium that's going on. Eventually, got a 10-second penalty, which obviously in motor racing terms is
huge.
It's massive penalty. So I think he went in. I think it was his first or his only pit stop. Went in and got held in the pits for 10 seconds. Came out 6th or 7th, and won. And
that's impressive.
With two, I think he overtook the leader Leclerc. I think with 2 laps to go or 3 laps to go. What a drive! I mean, let's forget about whether the rights and wrongs are. I don't know, but what a drive! And surely, I think we've mentioned him before. Certainly last year when he won the championship, he's got to be one of the greatest ever sportsmen Britain's ever produced. I mean, that is an unbelievable result in front of his home fans. So yeah, and it was exciting actually watching that. Formula One's one of those things. I think we've said before that the start is always the most exciting. And every now and again, a race throws up something, and that was one of them because you were glued to the fact that the fact of the matter was he was always going to catch him. It was just whether he had enough time.
To get by him.
Yeah, and he did, and yeah, fabulous to watch, very exciting.
But also brings them closer together for the championship as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think 8 points difference now, is it? Because obviously, he didn't get any points, Verstappen, even though he won. On the Saturday, there was like this new sprint version race as well, wasn't there? So another thing that they're thrown into the mix. But Verstappen won that. But yeah, so it looks like it could be probably one of the most exciting Grand Prix or F1 championships for a long while. Because let's be honest, for the last few years, it's been whoever's won it, you can kind of see him winning it from 5 or 6 races in. But this looks like it could go down to the wire.
Excellent. Right, so Jack, what have you got planned for the rest of the day?
We'll edit this. We'll get this ready to get sent out for tomorrow. And I don't know what the wife's got planned because she's obviously off, so we've been chilling out. So maybe a dip in the pool, maybe partake in an orange juice or 2 somewhere along the line. What about yourself, Stuart? What are the rolling hills of Ireland got in store for you today?
Well, I'm going to go cow tipping. Just
cow
decided.
Tipping? Oh, very good.
Yeah. I believe at night time, cows fall asleep stood up. So I'm going to test that theory by pushing them and see if they fall over. What
I must ask you, though, before you go, have you had a Guinness yet?
I haven't. I am heading to Dublin on Saturday, so I will partake. I've saved myself. I've had a few Bulmers. I'm saving myself for Guinness when I hit Dublin. So I figure if there's ever a place to have one, that's the place.
I know you're not a huge fan of it, but believe you and me, I know you've been before. It's a different tipple in Dublin. Let me tell you.
Yes, excellent. I shall look forward to it. End of the day, Jack.
What do we know?